Hey everybody, welcome back to Home Gym Hacks and Reviews. Today I want to bring you the fourth installment in my Powertec Levergym series. A couple of these things I showed on my Instagram account, a couple of these things I showed in my road grinder review, but most of these things I've never really shown before. So I hope that you all find as much value in part 4 as you did in parts 1 through 3. Let's get to it. I want to start off by offering some hacks for people who have older model levergyms. I get quite a few questions if Powertec offers band peg add-ons or the range of motion selector add-on for older model levergyms, and while they do not, a few of these hacks that I'll show you will help bring you up to speed and almost make your old model levergym as good as the newer model levergyms. Of course, another option would be to sell the older model levergym and take the money that you earn and put it towards the newer model levergym. I've done that quite a few times over the years. The first hack that I want to show today is how to add bands to an older model levergym which doesn't have the band posts. All I've done is place 2 dumbbells on each side of the bench. On this side I have 65s, on the other side I have 60s. If I was using a more difficult band than red, like maybe black, I would probably need to increase the weight of the dumbbells. Also, all of my bands come from Elite FTS. So now I have the eccentric overload, which bands offer. And just to show you how I did this, I have one band. I bring the loops together and then carry the loops up and over the weight horn. The dumbbells are pressed against one another. And here's a closer look at how I rigged up the bands. In my experience, one dumbbell won't work because there won't be enough tension on the band and it will move. If you have one of the older model levergyms without band posts and you want to do banded squats, I'll show you in just a second how I set this up, but you won't be able to double loop the bands like I showed with the chest press exercise. So the bands have tension throughout the entire movement, but where I'm weakest, the bands offer the least amount of tension, and where I'm strongest, the bands offer the most amount of tension. And here's the close-up of how I did that. With the levergym, unless you rig up a special contraption, you have to start at the very bottom of a pressing movement. That's where a reverse band can come in to help you get out of the hole. I don't know what these hooks are rated for, so I wouldn't put 500 pounds on the lever arms and use one of the most difficult bands, but with a red band, it's going to be fine. So this offers just a little bit of assistance in the very bottom. And then as the bar goes higher, the bands help less and less and less. Powertec has made 2 significant changes to the levergym over the years. The first being the arms moving independently of one another. The second being this range of motion selector. Without that, there are only 7 different positions for the lever arms, but with it, there are 15. And many people want this piece, but they don't want to buy a new levergym, and that's where the stall mats come into play. I've used stall mats for a lot of different things over the years, and I want to show you how you can use the stall mats to make up for not having that piece. Let's say this was one of the older model levergyms, which didn't have this piece right here, and the only holes were the 7 in the frame. A lot of times what happens to people is the bar is either too low or the bar is too high, and you can't find that sweet spot. Well, that's where these stall mats come into play. You can stack up 1, 2, 3 to change the height of the bench. Depending on what exercise you're doing, you might have the stall mat stacked at this head of the bench, or you could even have the stall mat stacked at the foot of the bench for decline movements. To give you an example, for my incline press, I feel like I could go just a little bit lower for a greater stretch in the movement. But if I lower the lever arm to the next position in the frame, this is way too low. So I'm going to go back to my other position and add 1 stall mat. Now I found that sweet spot. For me, the roller pads don't fit on my legs tightly enough. In the middle setting, there's too much wiggle room, but if I go down to the next setting, it's way too tight. So one thing you can do is add spacers between the floor and your shoes. And all I have here are the stall mats that have been cut, and now it's the perfect size. Next, I get asked a lot if you can do leg presses or belt squats on the levergym, and while I'm not a fan of either exercise, it can be done, especially if you're very limited on the equipment that you have. So right now, I have the bench elevated with 2 stall mats. I have the bar on. I would recommend having the bar press against the handles rather than having the bar go like this. And you're definitely going to need weight on the leveragym posts. But here's your movement, and it's okay. But one leg feels a little bit better than two. Here's another view so you can see the range of motion. I would prefer to have a bigger base of support for my foot to rest on, but this is okay. If you're limited on equipment and you're trying to do this leg press hack that I just showed, just be careful that you don't break your bar, and remember that the lever arms are rated at 500 pounds. I don't think Powertec ever intended anybody to use this as a leg press. Next, the leveragym can be used for belt squats, but I don't think this is a long-term replacement for a belt squat. I also wouldn't recommend going very heavy on it. The cable's weight capacity is 300 pounds. I have my road belt, which has all of these different settings, which you will need to get low enough to the pulley. And I have it on the next to last setting. And unfortunately, there is the shearing force because I'm being pulled forward. But I just wanted to show you that it could be done. Here's another lower body exercise using 50 inches of chain. I saw someone else do this, maybe it was knees over toe guy, but it does feel extremely effective for hitting the hamstrings and glutes. So I have my grizzly ankle straps on, a carabiner connecting the chain to the grizzly ankle strap. If you want to, you can hold on to the leveragym handles and then pull straight down with one leg. Next up, let's talk about some seated row variations. First, a lot of people ask me where I got this foot plate from. This is from Powertec, but let's say you don't have this. One option would be to take these weight horns and flip them on the inside. And then brace your feet against them while you're doing the rows. Even easier than that would be just to put your feet on the frame. But if this doesn't offer you a great enough range of motion, you can do something like I've done here, where I've stacked these stall mats, put them directly up against that lever bench connector, and now I can get a much fuller range of motion. Another row variation that can be used for somebody who has a bad lower back is a laying row. And if you're starting to lose so much weight that your back is coming off the bench, you can always brace your feet against the arms on the leveragym. Here's a better example of how the leveragym can be used for a laying row. I have 45s on the lever arms, and I'm pressing my feet against the arms just to hold my back against the bench. Another row variation that looks a little wacky is this next one. I'm reluctant to throw this in here, but it does feel surprisingly effective. In one of my other leveragym videos, I showed how the arms can be used for a chest supported row. Well, you can also use the lower cable for a chest supported row, but you'll need something like these 90-degree grips so that you can separate the grips as they get closer to the post on the bench. Next up, here are two of my favorite lat exercises using those 90-degree grips. One is facing away from the leveragym and the other is facing towards the leveragym. I get a tremendous amount of lat activation when I do both of these exercises. Give them a try. Let me know what you think about them. Hopefully they're as beneficial to you as they are for me. One of my favorite bicep exercises to do with the leveragym is the chest supported curl. This could be beneficial for someone who doesn't have a preacher curl or for someone who has a bad lower back. Next up, I want to show you how to set up one of my favorite shoulder exercises. This is a lateral raise using the lower pulley. So to start with, I have one dip belt, which is 36 inches long. And then I have two additional chains. One came with the leveragym, one came with the Powertec high-low pulley. But this is a total of 68 inches of chain, 7 carabiners, and then 2 revolving handles. At one point in time, I was thinking about getting the Titan Fitness overhead press lateral raise machine, mainly for the lateral raise feature, but with this exercise right here, I really don't feel that machine is necessary. This feels surprisingly effective, and you can face towards the machine or away from the machine. With the same chain setup that I showed for the lateral raise, you can do a variety of other exercises. Starting with rows, curls, you can face away and do overhead presses, stretch curls, or face towards the machine and do a raise this way, which will work more over your delt and trap. Next, I want to show you how this contraption can be used for a variety of different exercises. The genesis of this actually came from another person on Instagram named AJ Gorby, and then I took some of what he was doing and then put my own spin on it, mainly using this bar, whereas AJ was using the straight bar. I have found that this neutral grip hammer bar actually works better. And as for these daisy chains, I'll have them linked in the description if you want to purchase them from my Amazon affiliate account. Back in the day when I only had a power rack and a high-low pulley, I wanted a way to do flies with something other than dumbbells and bands. Well, I tried a couple of different things and nothing quite worked out right. Well, fast forward a few years and I got these daisy chains to do different exercises on the lever arms. Well, lo and behold, they can also be used for flies using the high pulley on the leveragym. And also presses. I don't think this is a long-term solution to having a pec deck or a cable crossover machine, but I do think it will get you by in a pinch. It does require quite a bit of balance, so that aspect of using this piece is pretty neat. This same setup can be used for pull-down movements. I just moved the handles closer to the end of the daisy chain. And it feels a lot like a functional trainer because you have to balance this movement, and it almost feels like you have isolateral function. The Powertec Levergym is my most used piece of equipment, my most abused piece of equipment, my most versatile piece of equipment, and aside from the Rhino, it's my favorite piece of equipment. As always, thank you for watching. If you found anything in this video helpful, please consider liking the video. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, please consider becoming one. Also, you can find me on Instagram under Home Gym Hacks and Reviews. Take care, everyone.